What's up, guys? Lore here with another round of Heart of the Swarm replay roulette. This game was actually sent in by a viewer. For whatever reason, my random replay thing that I was using before, I was actually just finding random replays off of drop.sc. For whatever reason, since the latest beta patch, there have not been any new replays on drop.sc, which I think is probably an issue with the site. Regardless, I put out the word, and a whole bunch of people sent in some of their own replays, so we're going to be taking a look at a couple of those down here in the southwest corner as the Red Terran. Here on Star Station, we have MrKenndy, and up here in the northeast as the Blue Terran, we have his opponent dennzeN. I'm just going to call him dennzeN. So, like I said, this is a viewer-submitted replay. I believe the viewer here is MrKenndy. So we'll have to see if he's one of those guys that says, oh, I finally got a win, so I'm going to send that into Lore so he can cast it, or if he's someone who was actually able to send in a game that he lost. We'll have to see how that goes. Sometimes it does happen. Anyway, let's get an idea of what these players are up to. So I believe this is a Silver League match, which is fine. I cast all sorts of different replays. It's always good, I think, to get an idea of what things are like at all ends of the spectrum, especially when we're looking at a new release such as Heart of the Swarm. It's good to know what everybody's up to, where are different things sitting at on the ladder, not just from the perspective of, oh, you know, it's fun to watch really, really good games, because obviously it's always fun to watch really good games, but also from the perspective of, if I play Heart of the Swarm, what sort of stuff am I going to run into? So we're going to see a Terran versus Terran here today. See how this bangs out. So, dennzeN, first to scout, heading his SCV over in here. I'm going to just sit it there for a moment, try and get a peek at what's going on. Of course, MrKenndy is going to have none of that. Sends his own SCV over there to bother him a little bit, just poke at him a little bit, say, am I bothering you? Am I bothering you? And so dennzeN will send his SCV away. Meanwhile, over here in dennzeN's base, we do have his barracks going up. Obviously, there was MrKendy's barracks going up as well in his own base. So both players are sitting relatively even in terms of production. However, we do have one difference over here, and that dennzeN is going for double gas, whereas only one gas has been taken by MrKenndy, now taking his second gas. So a little bit of a divergence there early on. We also see that no orbital command. Couldn't think of the word for some reason. No orbital command out just yet for MrKenndy, but ooh, check this out. He's actually going for a very, very fast Reaper. So the orbital command is about to finish over here for dennzeN, so he will have scans and such things. In fact, he's now been able to kill off that SCV. Looks like MrKenndy just forgot about it and sent it all the way over here. And now dennzeN has actually forgotten about both of these things, so those are just going to sit over there. But we are going to get this fast Reaper out here relatively soon, and we'll see what MrKenndy can do with that. Do have a factory on the way over here for dennzeN somewhere. Where is it? There it is, down over here. I keep forgetting that I can actually just click on these things now and see where they are. MrKenndy does have his factory in production now as well. I'm noticing that this is actually a little bit different than it was in the previous patch as well. This is looking a little bit more stylish up over here with like the lighting up when I put my cursor over them and everything. Very, very nice. There's been a lot of little interface tweaks in the latest Heart of the Swarm beta patch. Also adding cool new things like the ability to watch replays with other people. I'm going to have to find somebody else to cast some matches with. I got a couple people in mind. We'll have to see if any of them are interested in, but I really, really, really want to watch, take that watched replay with others feature for a test run. See how that goes. So we do have these couple of Reapers on the way over here from MrKenndy, and ooh, this is interesting, a starport. Very quick starport here from dennzeN. We'll see what he's going to be up to with that, and see if it matters, because MrKenndy is about to come right up in here with these couple of Reapers, sending him over here a little bit. Now they have, at least I think they have, I believe they lost the battle awareness ability, the one that allowed them to see up walls. I believe they no longer have that. I'm going to have to double check in a little bit. I don't see it down over here in the corner. So we'll see here if they do lose vision. Yes, they do. Alright, so they are no longer able to see up cliffs. That's a change that's relatively recent for the Reaper. But notice how they have that combat regeneration, or out of combat regeneration, combat drugs, which has caused both of them to get healed all the way back up to full, which makes them very, very good for little harassment tactics like this. Checking over here, we got an expansion on the way for MrKenndy. He is getting stim pack upgrades on the way. I'm just heading up on over here and just being annoying, being as annoying as he can. Hopping back out again, just popping in, forcing dennzeN to slide himself back a little bit. Ooh, dennzeN's actually gotten himself supply blocked here, trying to build on a tank and a Viking. Some very, very normal buildings, or excuse me, very, very normal units to be popping out at around the 7-minute mark. Tanks on the way for MrKenndy as well. And it looks like he has already finished siege tech. Either that or they don't... Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think they need... I think they got rid of the... Sorry, there's been a lot of updates to the Heart of the Swarm beta since the last few matches that I cast. I've been trying to remember what all the changes are. I believe they actually got rid of the research requirement off of siege tanks, so you no longer have to actually research that. It just sort of happens. So that's a cool little change for Terran. Especially interesting in TvT because it means that siege tech is up just a little bit faster than it was before. So, MrKenndy, first one to actually finish his expansion and get it landed out over here. In fact, no expansion at all on the way yet for dennzeN. He seems to be just sort of sitting back, and wow, he's actually got 3 barracks, a factory, and a starport, all off of one base. He is definitely going to want to think about expanding here relatively soon. He may have overbuilt on production units, though. A lot of times in these lower level matches, what you'll see happening is people say, well, you know, I got enough resources. I can keep adding on building structures, but they forget to ever actually work out a way to get an expansion in. So it actually gets very, very difficult for them to expand. They have to stop production to actually be able to expand. It can be very, very frustrating. Very hard to figure out. Ooh, there comes the very nice Widow Mine positioned right there. Does shut down those Reapers right away, along with those couple of Marines positioned up over there. Very nicely positioned on all 3 of these units, really. Very nicely done there from dennzeN. I don't know if that was on purpose or completely totally by accident, but either way, it worked out quite well for him. The Reapers are now dead. Long live Reapers. Do have combat shield on the way for MrKenndy, and just adding on more and more and more tanks. He's got 3 of them, excuse me, already out here. In fact, we can go ahead and check the units tab. Yeah, 3 tanks now on the field for MrKenndy to 2 for dennzeN. So a little bit of an advantage there for MrKenndy. He's actually now up to 4 tanks, so a little bit of a tank advantage there. However, MrKenndy has not yet begun production of any sort of air units. He does have a starport on the way now, but it is only halfway done, a little under halfway done, actually. So if dennzeN were to start really, really pumping Vikings, he would be able to take and secure that air advantage pretty favorably and in his, or pretty heavily in his favor, excuse me. So with the positioning on this command center, I'm betting that dennzeN's probably going to want to land it here instead of at his natural up over here. Remember, it is a Silver League replay, so it's a little bit difficult sometimes to guess exactly what these guys are doing because, well, a lot of times they do things that just don't make sense. But we can still sort of sneak around and try and get some insight here. This is interesting. He's sending out a scouting Viking. He's actually going to poke around over here and see what he can see. There's this couple Marines over here being sent up to try and ward it off. Of course, he's just going to go ahead and back off, and that's a completely and totally wasted scan. That was completely unnecessary to actually put that there. That is 290 minerals lost, more or less. Well, it's not completely lost, but it could have been 290 minerals mined sooner, I would say. But there's no real reason to scan there to see if the Viking is still there, because you'll see him if he comes by. And what is he going to do? Fly around overhead and say, yeah, I'm a Viking? No, he's not going to do anything useful at all. Starting to move out now here for MrKenndy. Got a nice little Marine tank push going on here. Very slightly behind in supply. Ooh, he may actually run into dennzeN's own Marine tank. A couple fewer tanks, but he does have some Marauders in there, and it looks like a few more Marines. These armies may actually collide here in just a second. There we go. The armies have now run into it. Oh, but dennzeN is on move command. He loses his tanks almost immediately. Does still have one up, though. Needs to focus that tank down. The tank does go down, but with those Marauders in there, he was able to clean up the remainder of MrKenndy's tanks quite easily. These guys are down over here now doing who knows what. And so MrKenndy tried to move his Marines up over here to try and get a little bit more damage in, but unfortunately they were chased down by dennzeN's army. However, there is not much army left for dennzeN. He definitely cannot attack into what MrKenndy has remaining. And in fact, between the two of them, MrKenndy actually came out very much on top after that engagement. I'm curious if he just did not send his entire army up over there, or if that just queued him up to, or queued him to start really, really ramping up production. He is pumping out Marines like crazy. He says, all right, you know what? You got Marauders. You know what sucks against Marauders? Or you know what's good against Marauders? Excuse me. You know what Marauders suck against? Marines. And that is very, very much true. Marines will rip through Marauders in pure force of economy. They're just much more economical than Marauders. Sure, a Marauder may actually... I'm actually not sure on the math on this, but I think a Marauder may actually kill a Marine one-on-one. But you can have 2 Marines for every 1 Marauder. So... Ooh, loading up for a drop here, potentially, and nice to see. And every time I see a Silver League player expanding like this, I really like to see it. In fact, we have another expansion up over here for dennzeN as well, so both players being very, very active about their expansions now at this point in the game. I mean, it is 15 minutes into the game. They should probably have had 1 or 2 of those expansions a little bit earlier, trying to get an idea of where that scan is. Scan is down over here, and I don't actually know whose scan that was. That was a weird place to scan regardless. Either way, MrKenndy. Which, by the way, I believe that's actually supposed to be MrKennedy. I think in his email he said that he just misspelled it or something. Either way, I'm going to keep calling you. You named yourself MrKennedy, dude. I'm gonna call you what you named yourself. So this drop coming up in here. Not much else going on the map at the moment. Tech-wise, not too much happening either. Oh, but this Widow Mine is still here. It could take some damage. Does it? It does, in fact, take a whole lot of damage on that medevac, but not enough to kill it off. And he does manage to snipe off the tech lab there, but he's about to find himself a whole bunch of... Oh, no. There were just a couple Marines still left in there. He loaded up into the medevac. Should have just left them on the ground. Would have been able to do more damage at the very least. Instead, he loaded them up into an almost dead medevac, got hit by a couple Marines, and all of those Marines in that medevac were just... they were sacrificed. They are dead now. There is no more life for those poor souls. And now with the medevacs out here for dennzeN. Interestingly enough, there really hasn't been much medevac production for MrKenndy. He has popped out a couple of them, and now he's popping out a couple more over here. It looks like he's got a total of about 4 of them, but he's not keeping them with his army. He's actually using them primarily for drops, it looks like. He's loading up another one over here. We may see another drop because he's loading up a couple of those medevacs. We may see him go in for another drop, but there is still that Widow Mine right there, so he's going to need to find another path of attack if he wants to come in here. I'm not seeing any other Widow Mines hidden around here anywhere, so he could come in from basically any other direction. It's just that one Widow Mine right there that has really been worth its weight in gold for dennzeN so far this match. It's been doing a very, very good job in terms of defense. And oh, he actually has a tank loaded up into that medevac. This will be an interesting one. Now, one other thing to note about the medevacs is that they do now have this Ignite Afterburners ability. It's a 20-second cooldown. Doesn't cost any energy or anything like that, but it's a 20-second cooldown that basically it's a 70% sprint. It makes the move 70% faster for 8 seconds. That's a long time. It's almost a... I mean, obviously, it's close to a 50% uptime that you can have on that if you're using it effectively, which means medevacs are really, really fast now. It also means that these guys also Marines. It also means that these guys could have been there a long, long time ago if he was using that a little bit more effectively. But here we go. They're now going to be dropping up in here and dropping down a whole bunch of stuff right here. Just start laying waste to the mineral line over here of dennzeN. Not quite paying attention. Has not moved anything over here to react to this just yet. dennzeN not reacting in time at all. May actually lose this right here. No, he's moved just barely in range of that siege tank, so he's going to start taking some damage. Does manage to snipe off a medevac, but with that siege tank just barely in range, those Marines will be cleaned up in a hurry. There's that Ignite Afterburner ability, allowing that medevac to get away in a hurry and then fly right over top of a couple other Marines and die. Probably could have used a little bit better path to get around that there. Could have possibly gotten away. But instead he exploded and rained down debris upon the army of dennzeN, which unfortunately doesn't actually do any damage when the debris falls down. That'd be kind of neat, I think, if you destroyed a flying ship, if it rained down bits of garbage on top of anything below it and did some damage. That'd be kind of cool. Probably unbalanced, but still probably kind of cool, I think. All right. Another drop. Wow, MrKenndy just being very, very active with these drops. I don't think he realizes that he's got a 50 supply lead at the moment. And he could probably just take his army and attack move and win. There is a relatively decent siege line here from dennzeN, but a couple of good drops in with that attack would take that out almost definitely. You just move in over here with some Marine Marauder. You drop some Marines on top of this guy up over here. I don't know, actually, now that I look at it here, he is actually pretty well defended at his front. So I guess I do like the drop play quite a bit coming out of MrKenndy. He just needs to be a little bit more careful with these drops. We are actually moving, by the way. I know it's kind of hard to tell. It looks like that medevac is just holding still, but there we go. Now coming up over here to this yet again. And uh-oh, there is... ouch. Those missile turrets were in there. And that spelled a very, very... Ooh, this is very nice, dropping this down over here. But those missile turrets over there. But uh-oh, we got another drop coming in from the back over here. This Widowmine did not fire. And so these guys are going to get in here and do at least a little bit of damage to the supply depots. They are going to be able to take these out. Do kill off a medevac as well, but there's just too much in the way of defense here for dennzeN. So the drop isn't going to do much more. I feel like he could have lifted those up and used the afterburners to get away and actually saved himself a lot of units there in the process. But he is still heavy in production down over here. 179 supply for MrKenndy, and could we see him beginning to move out? It looks like we may. Starting to move out across the map here. dennzeN, only 108 supply, just not producing very well. I'm really curious what he's actually doing most of the time. I'm really curious where these scans are going off. A couple scans over here. Just wants to make sure he can see the whole army. I'm guessing this is probably dennzeN that's scanning there. That would be my guess anyway, because unless MrKenndy is actually scanning himself, he may be looking for Widow Mines. That may be his plan, because it looks like he did eventually discover this one down over here as he was moving out. So it might have been looking for Widow Mines. There is one of them. That's going to be the only one he doesn't scan. No, he does scan that one as well. And we'll now start to move in. With that tank lineup over there, though, ooh, takes a couple of shots right away. Several shots, actually, getting himself hurt quite a bit. And now, with those Vikings up over there, needs to be careful. The Marines just sort of wandering off into battle quite dangerously. Now he's going to start to leapfrog his tanks up over here. Another scan going off. This time, that one I believe is from dennzeN. Yes, in fact it is. They're just trading scans back and forth. I see you. No, I see you. That's what's going on here right now. Nice usage of the scan, though, to get that little bit of extra range on those tanks. Remember, they can shoot farther than they can see. So if you scan a little bit ahead or just get some sort of air unit over there. Ooh, but this could be dangerous. Allowing those Vikings a little bit too close. Now the Marines are moving out, but they're moving directly into tank fire. There's another scan going off there. Very, very tenuous hold here at the moment for MrKenndy. Either of these players could really make a move at any point now and probably be rather successful, but we will see how things continue. This is a lot of supply depots in a very, very small area that is just ripe for the pickings from a drop. And this is a nice choice over here. I'm moving that one guy a little bit too close. I'm not sure if that tank can... Oof, that's a bit dangerous as well. But now he has moved over here into this position. There is another tank behind there, though. So that tank will mop up pretty much all of those Marines. No, excuse me. I guess I thought there was another tank up over here. There was not. So he's going to be able to take that down and force this command center there off of mining. But now the Marauders coming in, stimming in, ripping those tanks to shreds. Unfortunately, a few of them in the back were not sieged, and this push by MrKenndy will finally be cleaned up by dennzeN. However, MrKenndy is still very, very far ahead in terms of supply, which means to me one very, very important thing. He is not rallying his reinforcements. He is not sending his troops up over here to reinforce his main attack, which is a very, very unfortunate, mistake to be making right now, because he could be doing a lot more damage than he currently is. I do like that he's continuing to expand over here, though. Very nice choice. Very nice choice, as if, like, it's some sort of, like, option. Do I expand or do I not expand? Well, yeah, you expand. You've got 2,200 minerals. You need to spend it on something, right? Might as well put up an expansion. Alright, so dennzeN actually starting to feel a little bit sure of himself. Especially, and honestly, I don't blame him. After killing off all the... I mean, he's not going to know too well what sort of an army MrKenndy has just yet. So after cleaning up all of those couple of different armies, or those couple of different attacks so far, I really feel like dennzeN is... I think that dennzeN is probably going to feel like he's in a better position than he is. And honestly, if MrKenndy keeps playing the way he has been, he may be. Oh, but here we go. Marines coming in there, catching the tanks unsieged. Bit of a mistake there from dennzeN. May cost him dearly. He's going to lose so many tanks. MrKenndy may lose all of his army here, but he is cleaning out the Vikings as well. Interesting choice to go after the Vikings. Is going to lose all of his Marines. And now dennzeN could honestly... Oh, never mind. We got a whole bunch of tanks on the way over here. As long as MrKenndy does not make the same mistake that dennzeN just did, he should be fine. Why is he not sieging his tanks? Siege your tanks, MrKenndy, please. MrKenndy, please siege your tanks. It's right there. Press E. Don't single target down Marines. Oh, and get those guys out of there. Use your afterburners, MrKenndy. Oh, no. Well, that was an interesting trade there at the very least. Oh, now he sieges his tanks. Alright, well. Meanwhile, ooh, Battle Hellions coming out now for dennzeN. I think he's figured out that MrKenndy is really, really relying very heavily on Marines right now. And in fact, MrKenndy, seriously... So many Marines coming out right now. He's got a bunch of them just sitting up over here. I don't even know if they can leave. They might be boxed in. Need to lower those supply depots. But he's got double his opponent's supply. He's got more than double his opponent's supply. And he's gonna make a whole bunch of stuff. Looks like we may be seeing battle cruisers here very soon. Dropping down 3 starports as well as 2 fusion cores. Maybe seeing battle cruisers and some upgrades to go along with it, which could be an interesting way to finish out the game. But honestly, if he just boxed everything he has right now, let's check the army supply, or the army, excuse me. He's got 14 Vikings, 9 tanks, 59 Marines, and 7 medevacs. Up against what? Up against 3 Widow Mines, 21 Marines, 7 Marauders, and a couple of Battle Hellions, and 4 Vikings, and a Reaper. I think the advantage is very, very clearly in MrKendy's favor right now. If he was actually getting his whole army together here and attacking places like this. I mean, this is a good little poke to be making, don't get me wrong. But he needs to come in force. He's maxed. He's at 200 to 200 supply. Is he just throwing away Marines because he feels like he doesn't need them anymore? And now he's sending his drop directly past that army right there, which he's going to lose his medevacs here very, very quickly. Just... unfortunate micro here from MrKenndy. I guess not really micro, just decision making. He's sending his units in weird places. I mean, he's going to be able to take out that tech lab again. Wow, I love the new physics, by the way. They did add ragdoll physics to Marines, so that's why you're seeing them just sort of flying all over the place when they die. It's pretty awesome. But that is the end of that drop. There's another bunch of medevacs just hanging out up over here for some reason that I don't fully understand. And MrKenndy, we're just waiting for you to finish the game, buddy. That's all we need right now. Just take your army, just select all, and just press A, and click right around over here somewhere. And that'll do it. That'll take care of it. Well, let's see if dennzeN can come up with a response to this. We are in fact seeing, by the way, weapon refit on the way for the battlecruiser Yamato cannon, so we will be seeing battlecruisers coming out of MrKenndy. But what sort of stuff can dennzeN do to respond to this? He needs to be ramping up his production, and I honestly don't know why his income is so low. I guess he's mined out most of his main. There's still some minerals over here. Could have like 1 or 2 SCVs still mining that. But he's running on... well, he does now have this base up over here too. Needs to start getting some workers at it. But his economy is relatively low, and he's just not producing the units that he needs to. He's been so far behind in army supply this entire match. You're supposed to wait until you actually have a base there to send your workers over. Otherwise, you're just distance mining. That's a bit strange. But we'll see what if anything, dennzeN can do to recover from this horrible deficit he is currently in. Everything got really, really quiet. The music went away. Nothing's really happening. So this is just awkward time. There we go. Some music coming back. Apparently the Zerg music is playing now, which is strange because this is a Terran versus Terran. But doesn't matter. We do have a relatively sizable force moving out up over here. Has he gotten... He does have seeker missiles. I actually don't remember if that is still something that needs to be researched or not. But he does have seeker missiles. Seeker missiles have actually gone through a bunch of different changes in the beta so far. I believe they've gone back to their original implementation at this point. Deploys a seeker missile, activates after 5 seconds, pursues the target unit. Why are these Marines going up over here? And it does deal splash damage again. For a while, it was just a single target nuke that was relatively unavoidable. But I believe that has now been changed back. And this is a lot of Vikings up over here, floating around, not really doing it. Why would you land your Vikings against siege tanks? Are you just... Is that charity? Is that what that is? Alright. And now he's going to lose those Vikings. And now he can't lift off because there's so many Vikings up over here. MrKenndy has just thrown away a very, very prominent tactical advantage that he had in the air to try to cancel an upgrade on an engineering bay that will finish anyway. So that was a bit of a mistake there for MrKenndy. Generally speaking, you really don't want to land your Vikings. It's usually better to just not. Like, just don't do it. There's cases in which you will want to land them, but it's usually as sort of like either as a last-ditch effort or a harassment sort of measure, which that was neither. And you also want to be sure that you'll be able to lift them off when you do it. Oh no, he could have finished off the planetary fortress. Instead, he turned around, did manage to kill off a few of the Vikings. But look how low that planetary fortress is. That would have been an awesome, awesome blow against dennzeN if he'd actually managed to finish that off, but he did not. So, now this big old army over here from dennzeN may actually be enough to deal some substantial damage to MrKenndy. He has spotted these tanks down over here, so he needs to be careful. But he'll be able to siege up here on the high ground. Takes that out in no time. Oh, but the seeker missile's coming in. It's going to explode. Doesn't kill much of anything. A couple of Marines go down, but there's another seeker missile about to go off. He's going to launch off another one here. Notice it sits there for a few seconds and then goes off after the army, and that one dealt a decent amount of damage. Took out a couple Marauders as well as a decent number of Marines and did a whole bunch of splash damage to everything else. Does dennzeN not have any more medevacs? He does not. Needs to start building some of those if he's going to go this heavy into bio. Needs medevacs to go along with that. Another big shot there from both sides, having a little bit of a tank battle here. Scan going down to give MrKenndy a little bit of extra vision, and the battle cruisers have now joined the fray. They're going to be heading up over here, ripping through those Vikings, which I don't feel like they should be able to do. Yeah, the Vikings just need to turn and attack, because this number of Vikings will, or would have at the very least, killed that many battle cruisers, no problem. In fact, they may still be able to finish them off. There comes the Yamato cannon, going to finish off a tank, but that's kind of a waste of a battle cruiser. Just Yamatoing to kill a tank doesn't really seem to be very worthwhile. And then down goes that battlecruiser. So once again, MrKenndy just not being very effective with his army at the moment. Now down come the Marauders stimming in, as well as the Battle Hellion. The Marauders will fall, but they managed to clean out a huge number of those tanks in the process. And if dennzeN had his army down over here, why are these guys just sitting up here? Send them down over here. Do some damage with that. That could have been a good opportunity for him to move in. Now, however, with the battlecruisers back out again, this is going to be yet again defended here by MrKenndy. In fact, he's now back up to 200 supply, and I really just don't know. He's only got 62 SCVs. It's not like he's overloading on SCVs or anything. He's got 68 Marines. Where are all of these Marines? Other than milling about up over here because he never lowered his... Oh my god, he has... Is this one... Oh, it is rallied. He just has... Let's count the number of Marines. He has almost a full control group of Marines, or a full page of a control group of Marines sitting up over there. Oh dear, needs to be a little bit more effective at managing his army. Here comes off a few shots from the Yamato cannon. Targeting SCVs with the Yamato cannon. Not the tactical choice that I would make. Or anyone really, except MrKenndy apparently. I'm gonna try and build a missile turret underneath these 3 battlecruisers, and is he actually gonna let those Marines kill off his battlecruisers? Dude, the battlecruisers will kill that. Let them attack. There he goes. Now he's killing those. And he should be able to fight off those Marines as well as these couple of Vikings up over here. Yeah, there we go. The 2 battlecruisers will now finish that off. Meanwhile, there's been a little bit of an attack up over here, but as you can tell by these splatters of blood and body parts laying everywhere, did not go too well for MrKenndy, but he does still have both of these battlecruisers active. A couple of Marines stimming down in here trying to finish off this battlecruiser. It's at 41 health, 31 health. Oh, and he sends in the mules to repair it. Oh, but he sends them in right next to an active planetary fortress, so he didn't really get too much in the way of repairs on that battlecruiser. But dennzeN just not coming up with much of a response for this. The missile turrets are starting to finish, though. There he goes, using the Yamato cannon. There we go. To finish off a turret, but it doesn't look like it matters. This battlecruiser is going to fall. Down come a whole bunch of mules here for dennzeN. And once again, we have an attack that did not kill off his opponent. Checking down here once again. Oh, look. Here is his entire army. Okay, MrKenndy. Seriously, dude. Seriously. I know you're going to watch this, and I want to give you a bit of advice. Don't do this. This is bad. Don't do that. Don't attack with all of your army sitting down over here either. In fact, he's now sending up a whole bunch of guys up over here and still has a whole bunch of tanks and battlecruisers and everything sitting down over here as well. I know you might feel like you need to be kind of defensive right now, but you don't. You're up double his supply right now. You need to just go kill him. Alright, so here's a good tactic. Sitting up here on the high ground next to this Xel'Naga watchtower is with these tanks. He's going to be able to pretty much, I don't know what that stand is for. It's not going to do him any good. But he's going to be able to finish this building off relatively easily. There, down goes the planetary fortress finally. But here comes a move in from dennzeN. And if he's careful here, he should actually at least be able to wall him off. Yeah, he's going to start dealing some damage there, and he can't get in too far because of this Xel'Naga watchtower. He can't move in too far, but he can try and bait him out. Meanwhile, finally, the rest of his army... No, excuse me, this is not the rest of his army. The rest of his army is still sitting over here, and a whole bunch of Marines over here. But he does have a bunch of battlecruisers headed up over here. We'll see if he can do anything with those. Still down over here. A little bit of a poke coming from dennzeN, but he's going to decide to... He's just going to go for it. dennzeN's going to move in and move around in circles and lose his tanks for no good reason. Meanwhile, up over here, battlecruisers are killing off a command center that... I mean, I guess that's a good thing to pick off, but there's more important things to be killing right now. And there we go. dennzeN has finally thrown in the towel and left the game. Oh, man. Okay, so that was a 45-minute game that should have been over in about 20 minutes. But still very, very interesting to see how things are panning out at the Silver League, or at the Silver level in the Heart of the Swarm beta. I hope you guys at least found this game informative. Maybe if you're a lower league player and you're just looking for some tips, it's always a good idea, I think, especially as a lower league player, watch your own replays. Watch them from start to finish and go through them like I've just done here while I'm casting this replay. Watch things from all perspectives. You can very, very easily notice the points in the match where you did something wrong, where you're saying, oh crap, if I'd have sent the rest of my army over there, I would have killed him. Lets you get a much better idea of the timings and so on, and being able to recognize when your opponent is very, very hurt and it's time to move in and finish him off. That's one of the most important skills to learn as a StarCraft 2 player, is when it's time to be defensive and when it's time to move in and just kill the guy. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. GG's to both players. Thanks again for watching, guys. My name is Lore, and I will see you in the next match.